Leo, welcome to your weekly Sidereal forecast for July 27th through August 2nd. My name is Athen. So we've got a pretty simple week in terms of the astrology. We have Jupiter squaring up to Saturn is the only major aspect during the week, as well as a full moon in your 6th house of routine, health, diet, and work. So let's go ahead and break it down, looking at it in detail, since these are the only major things going on. We do have Saturn going station direct in an aspect over the weekend with Mercury, which I'll talk about. But coming into this week, from the previous weekend, we had perhaps some change, or at least that's a good idea. Coming into this week, we had Mars squaring up to Uranus. So over the past weekend, if there's anything that you felt like needed to be changed, that you wanted to do, to renew your life in some way relating to either groups, technology, friends, humanitarian things, causes, which has been Mars transiting your 11th house. That's great. That's a good way to start this week. Mars does naturally rule your 4th house of home and family and philosophy as well. So perhaps some constructive changes with that will be a good way to get the week started as well. We're coming into this week in the gibbous phase, so it is going to be very energetic, and then that full moon will be the high point on Friday. So the energies are quite high during this week in general. Now, that being said, Uranus did go retrograde as well as Venus, so anything that you're reflecting on now in regards to the deeper aspects of life, what life is really about to you, transformation, the depth, the truth, vulnerability, things like that are some good things to reflect on. Now for roughly the next 6 months with Uranus retrograde, a good way to come into this week, as well as Venus retrograde, who's recently gone into your 1st house. So reflecting on your self-image, how you present yourself to the world, your energy levels, your ambitions, your goals, your drives, all this stuff is going through a sort of renewal process. So anything that you want to redo or restructure involving that will be a good energy to work with. Especially when it's about either work or career, or how you're communicating and how you're thinking about things, which is Venus ruling your 3rd and your 10th house as well. So that's coming into it because we don't have any major aspects Monday or Tuesday, but then on Wednesday we have that 1-degree orb of Jupiter squaring up to Saturn, which will be going into the following week. So pretty much spanning this whole week, we've had a lot of this expansion and still a lot of energy now involving your 12th house of rest, relaxation, spirituality, connecting to God, getting that alone time basically. And that has been very expansive for you for the past year with Jupiter transiting that 12th. So continuing with that, but this week, Jupiter is going to be finishing the transit of that 12th house. Next week, we'll be going into your 1st. So you are coming up to a very expansive time. A lot of you are perhaps already feeling this because the Jupiter energy is in Leo, but in terms of the even house systems here, you guys will certainly be feeling that even more so as we go into August. But that being said, this week in particular, finishing any type of structures and discipline relating to that spiritual stuff, whether it's the meditation, the alone time, because even things like rest and relaxation do take that mature approach in order to make sure that we are getting that time. So some things to consider with that. Any energy there that is about that hard work is certainly in line for you this week, as well as anything involving your self-expression, which is Jupiter ruling your 5th, and that transformation, which is Jupiter ruling your 8th. You are in a kind of transformational kind of period, you might say, as these planets now finish that transit of your 12th and start to go into your 1st. So that being said, Saturn did, who's the big player here, and this full moon is in Capricorn, by the way, so a lot of the Saturn discipline energy this week and this whole month, really, of August. Saturn did recently go into your 3rd house last month, so finishing any, structures and just getting really serious about the way you're either communicating, the way you're thinking about things, things relating to writing, reading, intellectual pursuits, scientific pursuits, things like that, is going to be very important now this month. So this is the last time Saturn's going to be in this 3rd house of yours until the next 27, 28 years. So it's all about foundations, and the foundations here are about your mind, your communications, things of that nature. And it's nothing new to you. You've had Saturn transiting this 3rd house for roughly 2.5 years since the beginning of this year. All right, so prior to this year, it was 2.5 years of that. Then he recently went back in here. So finishing up stuff with that, because Jupiter is going to be aspecting up to Saturn. Jupiter, who is the planet of expansion and possibilities, is going to be bringing that in from the 12th house for you to continue to build those foundations there. So very important. Now, another thing we can do is we can look at, we already looked at the ruler of Jupiter, 5th and 8th house, are those houses Jupiter rules. Saturn does naturally rule your 6th house and your 7th house. So expanding with your routine, health, diet, and relationships as well, I think will be important this week also. So that being said, the depositor of that Saturn who rules Libra, Venus, is a big player here. So continue to reflect on self and all of that energy that's sort of you're reflecting on your values and things involving you. Will be supporting this energy, as well as continuing to reflect on the spiritual stuff, because you have the sun here really illuminating your unconscious mind right now, the spiritual subjects of your life, and all of that you gain from both Venus and the sun here will be supporting this very constructive square energy. But it's all about taking action. It's nothing that's going to happen necessarily to us here. It's just we have to set the intention here to really solidify and put in that hard work here, involving, in this case, your 12th and your 3rd house. So that's the week. And then Friday, we do have the full moon in that 6th house of yours. So it's all about routine, health, diet, the work environment, a lot of things coming to an awareness point here, on Friday, around Friday. So reflect on those things and anything new that you did start 6 months ago involving work, or that health and self-improvement can certainly come to a head here at this time, as well as anything new you did start involving organizations, groups, or the spiritual kind of energy since the past 2 weeks when you had the new moon on the cusp between your 11th and 12th. And it's very important too this week to balance, this alone time with whatever it is that you're called to take care of as the week unfolds around Friday. There's a lot of this energy in the 6th really illuminating that. So do put in that energy with the day-to-day stuff. Just make sure you are getting that alone time, etc., because that is very important. That's where a lot of this energy is shifting, and then that's the constructive energy of Saturn coming into the 12th. So that's Friday. Then Saturday and Sunday, Saturn does go station direct after his 5-month-long retrograde period. So all that stuff regarding how you're thinking, communicating, etc., siblings perhaps, those kind of things you're reflecting on, put energy into that now moving forward in a way that's, finalizing it. But this week, up until that point, continue to reflect on it, because there's a lot of that learning still taking place with that Saturn retrograde. Then Saturday and Sunday as well, the last aspect of the week, Mercury is going to be trining up to Uranus. So there is some changes here happening with the unconscious, spirituality, things like that. So a good weekend for that rest and relaxation, as well as transformation, bond, deeper connections, things like that, which will be supporting all of the shifts and changes which are happening to your psyche right now at the moment, and helping you connect to rest, God, spirituality, things of that nature. So Leo, have a nice week. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, and I'll talk to you all next time.